Welcome to the Bakersfield City Council meeting. This television broadcast is brought to you by the local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 10 a.m., and the following Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can download the agenda for this meeting at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over this evening's meeting, the Honorable Mayor Karen K. Go.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to call to order the 5:15 regular City Council meeting of April 23rd, 2025. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kaur.
Here.
Councilmember Arias.
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Weir.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
I'm here.
Councilmember Coman.
Here.
Councilmember Bashirtosh.
Here.
Thank you. Welcome to all of you. We're so glad you're here to engage in the civic process. We have the pleasure tonight of having Pastor Jennifer Watt, who is the Executive Pastor of Ministries at Canyon Hills Church. She'll offer the invocation, and we're just so grateful for Canyon Hills, their support of CityServe, an organization that reaches out to so many in our community, providing goods, providing all kinds of support to help those in need. And then also our new Elevate apartments that will be coming up on F Street, also providing a place for those who desperately need that type of care. And so we're grateful to have you, Pastor. And then following the invocation, Catherine Chides, who's a City Hall Fellow, she'll lead us in the pledge. Catherine is a fellow in the city manager's office, working in the Dignity Health arena. She's currently attending Bakersfield College, but will start Ohio State in the fall. She's going to major in business administration. She's completed a nonprofit internship, Parks and Mobile Recreation internship, and also is a leader with one of our local foundations. So now would you all please stand? Pastor?
For the opportunity and the privilege to pray for the city that we love. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with thankful hearts, acknowledging you as the source of all wisdom and truth. We invite your presence into this meeting and ask for your guidance in all that is said and done here today. Lord, we lift up the members of this council. Grant them clarity of mind, humility of heart, and unity of purpose as they make decisions that affect the people of Bakersfield. May they lead with integrity, courage, and compassion. We pray for our city, for peace in our neighborhoods, strength in our families, and opportunity for all who call this place home. Let Bakersfield be a city marked by righteousness, generosity, and hope. Bless this time together, and may your will be done in this place. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. Thank you, Pastor Watts, and thank you, Ms. Chides. We appreciate it. Here are a few guidelines to help our meeting run smoothly. We request that you turn off your phones. Please be courteous in the use of cameras and videos. For safety reasons and as a courtesy to others, no signs are allowed in the council chamber or in the lobby. Applause is allowed during the presentations portion of the meeting, but not during other portions of the meeting. Everyone in attendance is expected to adhere to the rules of decorum established by resolution of the City Council. Failure to abide by the city's rules of decorum, including any disruptive behavior that interferes with our ability to have an orderly and efficient meeting, prevents the City Council from conducting the business of the city. Consider this a first warning to everyone in attendance that conduct that disrupts this meeting may result in expulsion and/or the chambers being cleared. Behavior that disrupts the meeting includes repetitive statements, shouting, hate speech, interrupting staff or presenters during the meeting, speaking out of turn, outbursts from the audience, and surpassing the 2-minute time limit. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Presentations item 4A, proclamation to the Bakersfield Sikh community declaring Sikh Heritage Month in Bakersfield during April 2025.
We are so blessed to live in a community with such great diversity. I have two young people here. They're going to introduce themselves in just a minute, but it's my pleasure to be able to present this proclamation. Whereas Bakersfield, California is a culturally diverse community with people of varied heritages, cultures, traditions, adding to the richness of our city. And whereas an estimated more than 35,000 Sikhs reside in Bakersfield and more than 250,000 Sikhs call California home, making up 50% of the total Sikh population in the United States, and whereas Sikh Americans enrich the social, cultural, and economic vibrancy of our country, making significant and distinguished contributions in many areas, including agriculture, trucking, small businesses, healthcare, and many other areas. And whereas the Sikh community remains committed to uniting our diverse world by promoting goodwill, peace, and service to others. And whereas the month of April is designated as Sikh Heritage Month to celebrate the contributions made by Sikh residents in our community and promote understanding and an appreciation of the rich history and shared experiences of Sikh Americans. Now, therefore, I, Karen Gobe, Mayor of the City of Bakersfield, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sikh Heritage Month in our city and urge all citizens to celebrate the contributions and culture of the Sikh community. And now I'm going to present this to our young people. I'm going to ask Council Member Vice Mayor Manpreet Kaur to introduce them and then offer comments.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank just my council colleagues as well as the mayor for the recognition in April being Sikh Heritage Month. As we conclude April, Sikh Heritage Month is a month in which historically the Khalsa was formed, and today in places like Bakersfield, Sikhs have established and formed a community and share their principles of Vandke Shakna, sharing in generosity with each of our neighbors, Kirt Karo, having an earnest living, and Naam Japna. And today we have Harveen Kaur, and Harveen Kaur will introduce a fellow youth. And then we have members from our local Gurdwara, our Sikh places of worship, community centers really within the city of Bakersfield who are joined here. So our young people can offer some remarks and share as they are the continued legacy of the Sikh heritage locally. And then we invite, if we may, Mayor, to have a photo with everyone, and then we'll conclude our celebrations. Go ahead, Harveen.
Thank you very much. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Right next to me, I have a Ridgeview officer from our Sikh Honors Service Society, and his name is Rhythm Singh. He's just going to say a few things before I speak.
I just want to say thank you, and we're all very grateful for this proclamation.
Thank you so much. Rhythm is an advocate in his community. So at Ridgeview High School, he serves as the finance chair. So we are learning from him. He's learning from us. We are honored to be in his presence. And somebody is a young individual who's dedicated to the advancement of our community. But with that, I would like to say it is truly an honor to stand before you all today to accept this proclamation on behalf of the local Gurdwaras and Jagara movement and the wider Sikh community. And I wanted to express my deepest gratitude for this meaningful resolution. As Manpreet Vice Mayor Kaur said, this is a very special month for our Sikh Qom, our Sikh community. Vaisakhi being the establishment of the Khalsa is very important to us as a people. So this moment would not be possible without the efforts of those who organized tirelessly behind the scenes and advocated for this to happen. The Sikh community, as Vice Mayor has already mentioned, is an ever-growing community, and we're deeply woven into this fabric of this city. So from education to public service, from small businesses to agriculture, I'm sure we're all familiar with our fellow Punjabi Sikh neighbors, and we show up for this community in a very unique way. Champions of justice, compassion, and advocates of equity. This resolution affirms that in many ways for us, that while diversity is not something to be overcome, but it's something to be cherished and celebrated. And that although my non-Sikh friends and neighbors often ask me about our tenets and what are our beliefs and our practices, our history, our culture, I think this opens the door to, and it's a powerful step forward to learning that we're very similar. And we actually have much in common, and the deeper understanding and mutual respect and collective growth is happening right here in our backyard. So as we honor Sikh Heritage Month, we are reminded that our cultural differences may set us apart, but those are precisely what enriches our community in a countless number of ways. So thank you very much, City Council members, and we're really honored to accept this, and humbled, proud, and absolutely elated. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, Bole So Nihal, Sat Sri Akal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Vice Mayor, if you come down, and then anyone that you have specifically asked, I think we can maybe fit here a little bit better.
So ਇੱਕ photo ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਰੇ ਆ ਜਾਓ ਜਿਹੜੇ, if you're here to celebrate Sikh Heritage Month, we invite anyone who would like to join our photo, but we've folks from the community who have joined us here, but we welcome everyone to join the photo.
Right here.
We'll do like
Have to get it sort of narrow. Two rows? Two rows. Have to do your panorama. Thank you. Let's give it up. Sikh Heritage. In keeping with Council's resolution, public statements are received at different times. Depending on the item, I will call on the city clerk for public statements. If you wish to make a public statement, please fill out a public speaker card and place it in the tray next to the speaker podium. We ask that you mark whether you're here to speak on an item listed on today's agenda or on a matter not on the agenda. Speakers who do not identify a specific agenda item will be presumed speakers for the non-agenda public statements. If you're here to speak on an item not listed on the meeting agenda, you will be called first to speak. Statements are given a 2-minute time limit per speaker, 20 minutes total for all non-agenda item public statements. If you're here to speak on an item listed on the agenda, I'll call for you at the appropriate time. If public statements become disruptive and I have to clear the chambers to regain order of the meeting, you'll be called in one at a time to provide your public statement when your item is called. If you're here to speak on the proposed sewer rate increase, your comments will be heard during the non-agenda item public statements. If you intend to protest the rate increase, please note that state law requires that you submit your proposal in writing for your protest vote to be counted. For your convenience, copies of an acceptable sample protest form are available outside in the lobby and at the podium. So, just to be clear, when you get called up for your comments, your public comments, if you want to protest, you also need to submit it in writing. You can either use the form that has been provided, or if you've already turned it in, that would be acceptable, or another format, but it just has to comply with all of those items that are listed. And so at this point, Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items not listed on the agenda?
Mayor Go, we have received 13 public speaker cards regarding items not listed on tonight's agenda. The first public speaker is David Couch.
Yes, and if you would just wait for a minute, I'm going to call on the city manager first to make a statement. Thank you, Supervisor Couch, for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and City Council members. This is, I believe, relevant to our public comment tonight. The city has received an extraordinary number of inquiries related to the recent Proposition 218 notice. And to provide the best answers and better serve our community, staff will be recommending that we rescind the Proposition 218 notice at this time. We will bring back to this council a revised Proposition 218 notice after further outreach with the community. I think it's important to reiterate that it was important to identify a challenge that we're facing. The scope will remain significant and that we need to address the challenge, but that we also understand the need to work closer with community and explore multiple alternatives that can address the issue. We would propose presenting this as a deferred business item at your next council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. I'm going to ask Vice Mayor to make some comments, and then we'll follow by some other comments.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to our city manager. I think we've all heard from our constituents questioning the rate increase. And I agree with your reconsideration and bringing forward the item at a future meeting to consider whether to rescind the current proposed rate increase will give all of us and the public an opportunity to discuss how to best move forward for the city. So we are pausing and reevaluating the proposed rate and increase. And as Vice Mayor, I'd like to tell the public, we hear you. And you are our greatest responsibility, and we will and most definitely must do better by you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Bashir Tosh.
Yeah, I'd like to say that starts with all of us, city staff and city council, doing our jobs well and making sure that we dig and do our homework right by our constituents who'd probably rather be at home enjoying their life and family instead of having to show up here to tell us to do a better job at doing our jobs. And I'd like to say a lot more. I'm happy with the comments that you've made, and I'd like to see us do better and can expect a lot more accountability coming down the road in regards to how we make our decisions and how we come to these conclusions. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Clegg, thank you so much for that recommendation. I just want to underscore a point for the benefit of the community. To rescind the Prop 218 notice is a council action. And so, therefore, it will have to be agendized at the next council meeting for the council to take formal action.
Correct.
Okay. So we will have plenty of time to discuss the merits of rescinding the notice at that time.
Correct.
I appreciate that so much. I agree with your analysis. I think that it is important for the city to be very responsive to the community, to answer all the questions, and to provide as much information as possible, good data, so that the community can better understand what the city is up against and what are those alternatives. And I will reiterate, the last 2 council meetings I have offered up alternatives, and I would continue to pursue those alternatives as we continue to make this issue or consider this issue at the next meeting, and I imagine for months to come. Thank you.
And now I don't see any other requests from council. They disappeared, so sorry. Councilmember Smith, they disappeared. I don't see them on the screen, but Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I, like everybody else, have had many conversations with the community, and generally very positive communication. Once explained, the community understands the need for infrastructure. Raw sewage is something that needs to stay in pipes and at the treatment plant and be taken care of. This treatment plant number 2 that we're mainly talking about, there's other issues, but was built in 1958, 40 years old in the late 80s, and at that time, in the early 90s, you know, that's probably when money should have started being put away to either replace or do big repairs. You had the recession throughout the 90s in California, and then the Great Recession in 2008, and then it just kept getting put off and nothing ever happened. So we have a serious problem, but we need transparency, we need communication, and so I look forward to having more communication with the community. Thank you.
Councilmember Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate what some of the other council members have mentioned, that there were we acknowledge that there were some shortcomings on the part of the city over the last couple decades without addressing some of the capital improvement needs and making sure that rates were adequate to serve our needs. But that really shouldn't take away from the accomplishments of those department managers that were involved in those decisions. They made very difficult decisions during that time. I just want to reinforce my confidence in the city manager and the staff that really do know this water sewer thing inside out. They really have a good handle on it. I think where the shortfall was is the city didn't do a good job of communicating some of this to the community and engaging the community before we made such an announcement. And I think the council takes some responsibility for that. I'm happy to hear what the city manager is proposing. I just want to reinforce that we're going to need to raise rates, and we're going to need to do it pretty soon. But we need to do a better job of educating the public. We need to do a better job of studying what the alternatives are. And so I'm hopeful that we'll have an opportunity to do that. So I want to thank everybody that did send in letters already, because I have some, and I know all the other council members have received those. The clerk has them. We're keeping track of those. And I do appreciate the phone calls and the people that stop me on the street going, hey, I know you. By the way, I don't like you raising my rates. I appreciate those questions and concerns. And from my listening to other council members, we hear you. They're all engaged in trying to find a solution. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. Right there with my colleagues and sharing that we appreciate, the entire community reaching out and having conversations. And I think this underscores for me that the work that the city has to do and the work that staff has to do and the work that this council has to do is not easy. And oftentimes we are put in very tough positions to have very tough conversations, to take care of aging infrastructure, and so many other difficult conversations that we have to do. Now, that's the responsibility that we have taken on as part of our oath, but we also appreciate the fact that each and every one of you are here tonight to share your thoughts, your concerns, and we're here to listen, as always. And we know that right now it's pretty challenging times for so many families. I know that even before some of the challenges economically over the past couple months, folks have really kind of always struggled, generation to generation, certainly in my ward, certainly in others across the city. And we know that, you know, these conversations and, you know, potential increases can only make it a little bit more challenging for families. And so we need you. We need to hear from you. Looking forward to hearing from you tonight as we consider what's going to be agendized at our next meeting. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Now, Supervisor David Couch from the County of Kern, former City Council member. Welcome.
Glad I'm not there right now. As you say, I've been there with where you sit, and you have a tough job, and I appreciate that. And I came here really, I'm going to modify what I was going to ask for. I was going to, first of all, thank your staff for the time that they spent yesterday with me. Councilmember Coman was very kind to put together a meeting on very short notice for me to sit down with your water department staff and some of your finance people and one of your assistant city managers and discuss this, the issue of your sewer rate issue. By the way, great decision tonight. I think you're on the right track. I learned a lot yesterday. I know you're in a difficult situation. I know what you're up against. I think the question is really how you get there, how you finance this. You know all that stuff. I was going to come tonight and ask that you come, or your staff come, to our board meeting. Some of, well, everyone that you represent, we also represent. And we've gotten a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, even gotten some protest letters at our office. So I wanted to invite you to come to our board meeting to make a presentation about the need for your project and how you were going about it in the process, so we could give a little more airtime to the project and the process. I still want to invite you to do that. I don't think there's a need to do that in May at this point, but I would like you to still consider having your staff do that at a later date as this gets fleshed out. And I really want to ask that you include our County Public Works Department in those deliberations as you go forward. We are affected, the county is affected in a small way by this, and we would just like to be at the table and have a little bit of input into the process as well. That is the end of my statement tonight, and I appreciate the time, Mayor, very much. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff.
Supervisor, thank you very much. We are going to continue working together as a city and a county. This is our community together, and so we appreciate your reaching out. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please. And just to let all speakers know, we have a number of people who would like to make public comments. So we would just ask that you keep that in mind, keep your comments succinct, and avoid repeating. Madam Clerk?
Roman Matera.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm Roman Matera. I'm a local citizen here, and I've had the pleasure of speaking to the City Council several times last year, if you remember me. And I came in here under the preconception that I was here to support the city. I see actually that it is going to be the opposite, because I think that your recent comments just ahead of the sewer rate thing are wrong. I think that the sewer rate increase is not only justified, it is necessary, and it is the result of decades of flaws with our tax structure and the way that we have run our local government. I used to get into a lot of political disagreements with my father, you know, old conservative guy, And the one thing he always tried to instill in me is the lesson that nothing is free. You know, free healthcare, free university. I mean, I'm a progressive guy. I like these things, but I know that they're paid with tax dollars. And the sewers are the exact same way. That sewer, those power lines, the power grid itself, that's all paid for by the city through local tax dollars. And study after study has confirmed time and time again that almost everywhere in the United States, and really across the world where suburbs exist, those single family spread out residential homes, they are tax burdens on the city. Every single one of them is a burden on our tax revenue and on our budget. It limits our choices, and the longer it goes on, the more it strains our public services. California is actually uniquely harmful for this because of the existence of Proposition 13 and the way it challenges our ability to collect equitable tax revenues, shifting the tax burden away onto newer home buyers. It restricts home choice. And ultimately, I am here after months of absence to say, really holding back anger here, that I think the state of California has prostituted itself to the NIMBYs of this world for far too long, and it's time for the city government to assert itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Karina Funes and Natalie Santamaria.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, City Council, and City staff. My name is Karina Funes, and I serve as co-chair of the Tobacco-Free Coalition of Kern County.
I'm Natalie Santamaria, promotora, and I serve as one of the executive members for the coalition.
And I'm Bernardo Ochoa. I am the chair of Tobacco-Free Kern.
In collaboration with Students Working Against Tobacco, our coalition is conducting a series of interviews to gain a deeper understanding of how we can shape a healthier future for our community through effective tobacco prevention strategies. We're especially interested in exploring ways to prevent the next generation from starting tobacco use through proactive policies and early intervention efforts. We truly value the past collaboration between our coalition and the City of Bakersfield, particularly during the successful implementation of the Tobacco Retailer License Ordinance. Since its adoption, we've observed a significant decline in youth access to tobacco products. This progress inspires us to continue working together and build on that momentum.
So to help us keep on that momentum, we would appreciate having a meeting with each of you to hear your insights on the future of tobacco prevention in our community. We have a contact sheet listing the coalition members who are looking forward to connecting with each of you. I believe all of them or most of them have already reached your offices, so if you could just please, return those messages to us. Again, thank you for your time and continued support in creating a healthy Bakersfield.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Funes and Santamaria. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Rafael Lopez.
Good
Welcome.
evening.
If you'll just wait 1 minute while our guests leave, I'll let you know when we can start.
I'm sorry.
Welcome. Go ahead. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
I'm here because I would like to express my concern for the sewer rates. I'm retired now. I've committed my life to service, public service, over 50 years with County of San Diego, Tulare County, and more recently with this county, Kern. I have no problems with the tax increases myself, but I'm not here for myself. I'm here for others that are going to be impacted by those increases. It's not the homeowner always that's going to have to bear the burden. It's going to have to be the renters as well. We already have a problem with housing. We don't need another nail in the coffin. Over my years in public service, I keep track of the statistics throughout the state. and every county that I've worked for, it's a guide for me to address the things that my teams need to work on. I can tell you, and I'm sure you already know, the statistics for Bakersfield are not very good. Out of 58 counties, we're usually in 57, 56, or 58. Addiction, respiratory diseases, you know that. This is just another thing that's not going to help for those that need the help. I don't need it. I don't care. To me, it's a small amount of money. But to those that I have served, I just feel sorry for them. And I just hope that you're able to look at alternatives, make the magic happen. Where can we come up with the monies to do this? We have to do it, obviously. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Johnny Alaguez.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Johnny Olaguez. I had a whole thing planned, but then after said that, I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to say thank you for reconsidering the rate increase. Yeah, I was going to say some other stuff, but I will also say, just some ideas. You guys have probably heard of digesters, anaerobic digesters, right? Some of you. I'm very familiar with those. I'm in the trash industry. So I highly recommend you guys look into that. That would not only reduce the amount of waste that the city has to take to the landfill, but you can actually use that for energy. So you can either make methane, you could also make, I can't remember the trucks, but anyway, thank you. But yeah, if you guys, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olegas. Next speaker, please.
Jacqueline Aguilar.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Go and council members. My name is Jacqueline Aguilar, and I'm here on behalf of the Young Democrat leaders of Kern County. We understand that the upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant are necessary and that the system is outdated and investments need to be made. But how we fund these improvements matter just as much as how we need them. A 300% increase in sewer rates from $239 to $950 a year isn't just a financial adjustment for working families, for young people trying to stay in the city, for seniors on fixed incomes. This is a crisis. It adds to the already rising cost of living and puts a real strain on individuals who are just trying to get by. What's also concerning is how this has been communicated to the public. The process to protest the proposal is confusing, inaccessible, and has left many unsure of their rights. The city must do a better job in making this process transparent and easy to navigate, which includes also adding the post-rate study to the website for public review. We're not saying don't fix the system. We're saying do it in a fair way. Spread the cost over time, perhaps. Work with the community and create a plan that doesn't just place the entire burden on families who can afford it least. Want to thank and acknowledge city staff, as well as specifically council members Eric Arias and Andre for standing with the community and pushing for a more feasible and equitable solution. We urge the rest of the city council and the staff to listen to the voices of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Next speaker, please.
Angela Cuevas.
Ms. Cuevas, are you present? Doesn't appear that she's here. Next speaker, please.
Ava Haverstock.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor Go and council members. My name is Eva Haverstock. I spent my whole life in Bakersfield and I attend Bakersfield High School. I care deeply about the issues surrounding this city. On March 15th, myself and a group of fellow environmentalists completed a 10-mile hike in the Kern River. We hiked in the riverbed from the Panorama Bluffs to Riverwalk Park to highlight the various issues plaguing our river. I was tasked with identifying and documenting evidence of the invasive species giant reed, or Arundo donax. Orododonax is taking over our beautiful native plants and covering the entire perimeter of the river. After I first noticed the reed, I saw it growing everywhere. Orododonax destroys native species, consumes extra groundwater, and poses as a huge fire risk. Orododonax produces dry and combustible plant material, which makes it highly flammable. Bakersfield is not the first city to be faced with this issue. This plant has become a multi-million-dollar problem for multiple other governments who waited too long to solve the issue when it first appeared. For example, in Santa Clara, the city has had to make multiple attempts at removing the species, and today, Orododonax is still present in half of Santa Clara River, with coverage ranging from 5% to 100%. This is an incredible danger to water levels and a huge fire hazard. Ventura County had a $400,000 project to remove Orododonax from only 5 acres of the riverbed. And the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy spent $3 million on the same issue. The city of Bakersfield has the opportunity to get ahead of this issue before it becomes a massive use of resources to fix. I ask that you council members allocate resources and solve this issue and engage the Water and Parks Department to take the lead on this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Haverstock. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Ms. Haverstock, thank you so much for coming to tonight's council meeting and addressing us, and quite impressed by your remarks, so thank you so much. You're welcome to have this seat if you like. But in all seriousness, I'd like to make a referral tonight to City Manager's office that we look into this particular issue and see how we might mitigate it in the future. Thank you so much again.
Next speaker, please.
Misty Haverstock.
Thank you, Ms. Haverstock. Next speaker, please.
JC Llamas.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is JC Llamas. As a local business owner, resident, and future candidate for Bakersfield City Council 2026, I'm here to oppose the 300% sewer rate increase. This proposal is not just excessive, it's unjust, unclear, and unfair to the people of Bakersfield. Let's start with the facts. This increase will triple the bills for residents and business. Senior, low-income families, and working-class citizens will carry the burden, many of whom are already struggling to afford basic needs. If the system breaks the people, then the system is what needs fixing. Second, the process has a lack of transparency. The requirement to send wet signatures, partial numbers, and mail letters create barriers, especially for our elderly and non-English speaking residents. It's not public engagement, it's public confusion. Third, we don't see clear evidence of financial breakdowns. Who are the contractors? What are the salaries? Is there independent audit? We need real transparency before a single dollar is increased. Solutions. Create an independent sewer oversight committee made up of local residents, business owners, and engineers to review all the spending and contracts. 2, launch DOGE, Department of the Government Efficiency, to audit every department, identify waste, ensure our tax dollars are spent wisely. 3, offer a tier of income-based sewer rates to our seniors and low-income families and small business owners to make sure we are not paying the same as industrial facilities. 4, freeze this increase until full public disclosure is made available, including all financial contracts and political connections. This isn't about politics, it's about people, the ones who build this city, who work every day, who deserve respect, not surprise rate hikes and confusion. Look, Bakersfield is here. We are not just showing up to fight this bill, we're showing up to fix the system that made it possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Llamas. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Martin Mejia.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yes. My name is Martin Mejia, a resident of Bakersfield. And it looks like my objection is closed. I already made an objection earlier today in the afternoon at 3:30, and this is in regards to the waste and the proposal to increase the rates. Therefore, I'm not going to go into detail, but I just want to say thank you to the council members, thank you, Mayor, for hearing our voices. and deferring this matter for further study. As I mentioned before, I don't object any new infrastructure that comes into the community, the better the quality of lives of our citizens. However, as many of them have spoken today, I do have concerns over the amount of the proposed increase into our taxpayers. I propose that we look at alternatives, better ways, perhaps a lower amount to be attached to the tax bill, as opposed to this, astronomical $600 increase per year on somebody's tax bill, especially those that are on fixed incomes. But having said that, I just want to say once again, thank you to the council members and the mayor and the staff that took the time to actually listen to our concerns. And I hope you guys take this matter back and bring it back with a adequate proposal that we can all live with. We know we need the infrastructure, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Next speaker, please.
Robert Hooks.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Robert Hooks. I was here to talk about the sewer rate increase also. In the interest of time and in your statements earlier, I just want to thank you for reconsidering and look forward to true due diligence and true transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hooks. Next speaker, please.
Eric Orelania.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Eric Orellana. I'm a resident of Ward 4. I grew up here in Bakersfield, California, and I'm here to express opposition to the wastewater rate increase. I work in water policy advocacy as my full-time job. I serve on the State Water Resource Control Board Safe and Affordable Fund for Equity and Resilience's advisor group. It's a governor-appointed position. I also co-chair the State Revolving Fund Stakeholder Advisory Group, which directs funding for the State Water Resource Control Board's federal partnership around wastewater and drinking water. It's the primary funding source for water infrastructure in the state of California. And I just wanted to show up in opposition to the sewer rate increase. I appreciate the work from the city staff to postpone the rate increase discussion. I believe that community outreach engagement is fundamental to this component. I don't oppose making investments into our wastewater system. I think it's important to invest in them before, I work with communities that don't invest in them and for decades, and then the cost is much greater later on. So I do support us making investments, but I want to make sure that the city is making an investment that is not going to burden the most low-income communities in the city. And so I just urge you all to look at potential funding options, to look at loans that the state of California has available. There are low-interest loans that the SRF program can provide, and hope that that's an alternative that you all look at. And there's an opportunity to get some loans if you phase the project as well. And that would hopefully address some of the concerns, and hopefully that the sticker shock won't impact residents as dramatically. So I'm available if you have any questions, I'm happy to be a resource, but just thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Orellana. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Mayor Go, that was our final speaker.
Thank you. We'll now move to the public statements listed on the agenda. If you're here to speak on appointments item 6A or items listed under consent calendar item 7, your time to speak is now. Again, each speaker is given a 2-minute time limit, and each agenda item is limited to 20 minutes total. The consent calendar as a whole constitutes one agenda item. If you're here to speak on hearing item 9A or B, or new business item 12A, now is not the time to speak. You'll be given an opportunity to speak when those items are called later in the meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding appointments items 6A or items listed under consent calendar item 7?
One moment, Mayor. We just received some speaker cards. Mayor Go, we have not received any speaker cards for items listed on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Appointments item 6A, 2 appointments to wards 3 and 5 to the Planning Commission to terms set to expire December 31st, 2028 due to the term expirations of Cassie Biddle, Ward 3, and Allison Oliver, Ward 5. 3 applications for appointment were received from Heather Rozzo, Cassie Biddle, and Allison Oliver.
Thank you. These appointments are by ward. Therefore, I'll call on Council Members Weir and Coleman to share their nominations for wards 3 and 5. Councilmember Weir.
Thank you, Mayor. I nominate Cassie Biddle.
Thank you. And Councilmember Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor. I nominate Allison Brandt Oliver.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, motion?
Motion to approve appointments.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Biddle and Oliver, for your willingness to serve and your service thus far. Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consent calendar items 7A through 7I for approval.
Thank you. Council members, I haven't received anything for separate consideration. Just want to confirm that with you, or any items to recuse himself. No items. Madam Vice Mayor?
Motion to approve consent calendar.
Thank you. You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Hearings.
Thank you. Our next item is public hearings. Each side will be allowed 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes for all speakers per side. So it's important that you identify yourself, make your statement succinctly so others may speak. We'll hear statements from those opposed to the staff's recommendation first. Then we'll hear from those who would like to speak in favor of staff's recommendation. If there's testimony on both sides, each side will be allowed a 5-minute rebuttal. There's a clock on the TV screens behind me which indicates 15 minutes. Please step to the microphone. Identify yourself. After 14 minutes, a yellow light will come on. At the end of 15 minutes, a red light will flash indicating your time is up. Quickly end your statement. You may ask questions during your statement, but they won't be addressed until the public hearing is closed. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, give them to the clerk and she'll provide copies to the council. Please be courteous to others who wish to speak. Madam Clerk, please read the public hearing item.
Public hearing for the Draft Consolidation Plan 2025 to 2030 and associated documents.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll ask Jason Cater from our Economic Development Department to speak briefly to this item.
Thank you, Manager Clegg. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jason Cater. I am the Economic and Community Development Manager for the City of Bakersfield. And tonight we have the opportunity to present to you the Draft Consolidated Plan, Action Plan, and the related documents for that submission. This report is part of our annual HUD entitlement process. So as a city, we are eligible to receive 4 entitlement processes through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. As part of that process, we're required to adopt an annual action plan to show how those resources will be spent and how they will work towards the needs that are met for our community. Every 5 years in that process, we're also required to adopt a series of other plans that help guide the next 5 years of implementation, known as the Consolidated Plan, the Analysis of Impediments, as well as updates to the Citizen Participation Plan. So tonight, we're going to have the chance to hear from our consultant, who has been working with us since the summer of 2024 on preparing these documents. Diana Elrod has been a repeat partner for the City of Bakersfield. She helped prepare the Consolidated Plan in 2020. She's back again for the 2025 effort. She has over nearly 40 years of experience in this space and has prepared about 30 consolidated plans. So she's done this before, and she's here tonight to present to you some of the findings and provide some information as we consider tonight's action. So with that, Diana.
Thank you, Mr. Cater. Welcome, Ms. Elrod.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and council members. As Jason mentioned, thank you, which is the forward button? That one? As Jason mentioned, we do this 5-year planning exercise that comes up with a strategic plan that looks at all of the data that we have available to try to understand what the needs are in the community. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit, a fairly brief presentation of the background of what we're doing here, our community outreach and the themes, anticipated resources, amendments to the citizen participation plan, the proposed strategic plan goals, and then the annual action plan, which is money that will be coming beginning July 1st of this year. So the background is, what is this consolidated plan? It's, as mentioned, it's required every 5 years. It outlines the strategy for addressing those needs with federal funds, and in basically 4 main buckets, which is housing and homelessness, economic development, public facilities and infrastructure, and public services. And the 4 big hitter programs are CDBG, Home, ESG, and HOPWA. A little bit about the analysis of impediments to fair housing. This is a companion plan that basically helps jurisdictions affirmatively further fair housing. It assesses both private practices and public policies, provides action steps to remove or lower barriers to fair housing choice. It's also analysis of impediments has been required both by the federal and state law in your housing element. It essentially is a very similar document to what we did with the analysis of impediments. And it complements the consolidated plan. Briefly, the background of the findings are, we found that the number of lower income households has increased since 2020, which is not unusual. Many jurisdictions have had that issue, partly because people who could move to other locations that were more affordable were able to do so. And because the number of lower income households has increased, the need for affordable housing has increased. It's not really a surprise there. Homelessness has increased 37% since 2018, but we do report in the con plan that many more beds are now available for those folks. Minorities are denied mortgages at a higher rate than Caucasian or white people, or households, I should say. This is also consistent with other areas. That's one way in which Bakersfield, unfortunately, is not unique. And the fair housing complaints primarily occur on the basis of disability, followed by race and ethnicity. And by disability is people who need an accommodation to their home for some reason, and the landlord does not want to provide that. We conducted a really robust community engagement process with community workshops. We met with partners both in the city and within the county. We had informal presentation to the City Council in January of this year. We had focus groups with partner organizations. We had online and paper surveys in English and Spanish. This is part of a 30-day public comment period, in which not only are you taking action today, but there has also been another previously, I think last week, another community meeting. We've had one-on-one meetings with key stakeholders. We provided documentation in the consolidated plan about the outreach efforts that we conducted, and then we're having the final public hearing today. It's probably no surprise that the 3 main community engagement themes are affordable housing or lack thereof, homelessness, addressing homelessness, especially with behavioral health services, and economic development, specifically in terms of jobs and job creation. The anticipated resources, we don't really know yet what HUD will allocate to the city, but over the 5-year period between now and the end of this consolidated plan, there's going to be something on the order of $34 million. It sounds like a lot. It's not a lot of money, but it is helpful, especially for developing housing and for creating programs to meet lower income households' needs. I should mention also that the well, I'll get to it when we get to the numbers. Hang on a second. We have proposed amendments to the citizen participation plan. This is basically something that says how we're going to go about communicating with the community in each step, whether they're statutorily required, what kinds of public participation are required, and who makes the approval. The main change here, aside from some formatting and sort of ease of reading, was we added language in if there are Section 108 loans through the CDBG program, that those were added as specific formal actions to take consistent with the rest of the consolidated plan's citizen participation plan. Basically, the 5 goals that you see up here are relatively similar to the last goals, the 5 goals we had before. We've done some wordsmithing on them to really reflect a lot of the feedback that we receive from communities, from community stakeholders and residents, including, for example, the first one we included specifically homeownership opportunities. We also moved up and added more information about homelessness. This is a very strong theme, including mental health and behavioral health supports for the homeless population. But essentially, they're the same kinds of goals as we had before. I'm not going to go through this one by one, but this is the annual action plan projects, the list that's being proposed. On the left-hand side, you'll see CDBG project proposals to the tune of $3.9 million, and on the right side, home, HOPWA, and ESG programs, about $3 million. These specific numbers may change proportionately. This is based on our best guess of what the city will receive from HUD in this coming year. And I alluded to this before that we cannot, the federal government will not allow us to submit until we get our allocation, and these numbers are adjusted according to the actual allocation received. The recommendations you have before you tonight include approving changes to the citizen participation plan, approving the 5-year consolidated plan, approve the 5-year analysis of impediments, and approve the annual action plan. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Just this is one particular aspect of the, hang on a second. Where did that come from? Was this supposed to be here? I don't recall. Is this one supposed to be here? Okay, I think this is just a detail that should be in your packet. With that, I'm happy to go to questions.
We'll go to the public first, but thank you, Ms. Elrod, for a succinct presentation. Thank you for not reading every line to us. We really appreciate the overview. City Manager Clegg, anything before we go to the public?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, public hearing item 9A is open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to staff's recommendation? Please come to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed. Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of staff's recommendation? Please step to the mic, identify yourself, and proceed. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and return it to council for comment and action. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank staff and our consultant team and all those who helped prepare the consolidated plan. These dollars that come from HUD are precious, and they're critical for us to really address the needs of the most vulnerable in our community, many of whom live in Ward 2, Ward 1, parts of Ward 7 and Ward 3. And it is important that we not only have that citizen participation, but also that we're really being clear about the needs that we're hearing about in our community and addressing them in a precise way. And so I really appreciate all the effort. I would be honored to make a motion to approve the consolidation plan 2025 to 2030 and the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice 2025 to 2030 citizen participation plan and the action plan for 25 through 26. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, to echo Councilmember Gonzalez's comments, in times of just economic uncertainty, I am encouraged to see our steadfast efforts and our commitment to building affordable at all income levels, and that continues to be a commitment of the City Council, of City staff, so the work is much appreciated. So just on behalf of this council, motion to accept, or?
He
He
made a
did
motion already,
Okay,
so
great.
yes, normally we would call on you to make the motion, but you have a motion. I don't see any other requests to speak. Please cast your votes. Oh, it is not working because of what we had to do earlier, so we're going to do a voice vote. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Core,
Yes.
Councilmember Arias,
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilmember Weir,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Coman,
Yes.
and Councilmember Bashir Tosh.
Yes.
Motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next hearing item, please.
Public hearing item 9B, master fee schedule. Public hearing to consider the resolution adopting fees pursuant to the cost recovery system and approving the master fee schedule.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll turn it over to our Finance Director, Randy McKeegan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McKeegan.
Thank you, City Manager Clegg. Did you need to reference the memo that we provided to update?
Thank you. A staff memorandum was provided regarding item 9B, updating certain development service fees.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Go, council members, Randy McKeegan, Finance Director for the City of Bakersfield. This public hearing item relates to our cost recovery system with the city and the related master fee schedule. The master fee schedule contains fees charged to the public, community for services provided to multiple departments across the city. The increases that you'll see in there primarily are related to this consumer price index increase of 3.4%, but there also were some reviews by departments, specifically development services and fire, looking at those specific fees that are identified in the admin that they felt were not really recovering the full amount of the cost of that service. So in your admin, you will see those fees increased and the explanation of those. Per the municipal code and state law, a public hearing is required to approve this master fee schedule, increases to the master fee schedule, and per our muni code, we are required to do that as well. Just as an aside, we changed, in addition to in the memo that was referenced, we changed the recommendation of staff. So we are moving forward with asking you to open the hearing, hear public comment, and then eventually closing the hearing. And the resolution that's referenced will eventually be taken to council at the June 28th, the last meeting in June when we present the budget, and that's when the resolution will eventually be approved. So right now, we're just asking for the opening of the public hearing, take the public comment, and then closing that public hearing.
Thank you. City Manager Clegg, anything further?
Thank you, Mayor. No.
Thank you. So at this time, public hearing item 9B is open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to staff's recommendation? Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of staff's recommendation? Please step to the microphone and identify yourself and proceed. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, Dave Demahowski with the Home Builders Association of Kern County. We'd like to offer qualified support. We received notice of the new master fee schedule only Friday before the Easter weekend and didn't have really enough time to develop a detailed response to it. But we spotted a number of double-digit increases in the B items relating to land development fees and permits. And double-digit increases give us pause. Mr. Clegg was kind enough to make his staff available to us, and they gave us a pretty thorough briefing just yesterday on the methodology and some of the assumptions that went into the fee recommendations that are contained in your staff report. But we haven't had really sufficient opportunity to brief and get feedback from our builder-developer members who are most affected by those fee increases. But we hope to get to a position of support after we've had a little more time to review the the numbers, confer with our membership, and then get back with your staff before moving forward. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Amahatsky. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and return it to council for comment and action. Councilmember Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't sure I'd use this thing right, so thank you for, because it said I was the active speaker and I wasn't talking. So it's a question for staff. I don't know if it's a question or just a statement, but you know, this was, I did have an opportunity to sit down with the staff and review these things line by line, and I assume there's some, I believe there's some reasonableness to some of these fees, but you know, it's just again where we fail to communicate to the public, and you know, these things just pop up on the agenda, and it's obvious that it wasn't prepared to go because there's additions that are 5 days from when we published it. We got to change it. We forgot some, and then we're changing the recommendation on here, and so. You know, I say again and again that we don't necessarily require consensus from the public, but we certainly require communication. I'm just disappointed that we seem to be rushing this stuff through and we're not doing the homework and engaging with our community partners on these matters. So that's the only comment I have. Other than if there's an opportunity to make a recommendation, I'll recommend that we approve only the hearing period, but not the rates.
Yeah, just for clarification, we don't need a motion tonight. We're not looking for the motion. I think that staff, Councilmember Coleman, is aware of your comments, and that's why we had made the blue memo the way we did, so we could give the public another month during the budget process to kind of get acquainted with these fees and speak up to the council in the next 30 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Coleman. Any other requests to speak? Okay, seeing no other requests, I'll just, the public hearing has been closed and we will move on to the next item. Madam Clerk?
New business, item 12A, budget review and mid-year adjustments.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Mr. McKeegan. So Randy and I will both provide some of this content for you. Typically, our mid-year budget review process happens a little bit earlier in the year, but that is often because we may have some unanticipated savings, additional revenues, and in recent years, Council has chosen in many cases to put that into reserves, but also look at some capital projects. This year, we had no additional funds to present to the council, and so we wanted to get a good understanding of our budget situation, and so this will be both an early preview of revenues, and you know, we're going to have budget workshops, we're going to have memos, you're going to receive lots of information about the budget, so that we're not trying to cover it all tonight, but you'll get an early look at our revenues and just some of our fiscal situation. But as part of that, we'll also provide a mid-year overview. So as we know, we're in uncertain economic trends. Unfortunately, for the last 3 cycles, I feel like that's been on our top bullet on our slide deck. Also, in recent years, inflation has continued to be a big challenge, and we anticipate and project certain cost increases, but inflation in certain areas, in particular insurance costs, workers' compensation costs, but even technology costs and vehicle costs have continued to rise greater than all economic forecasts that we were able to look at in recent years. And so our cost growth has been greater than our revenue growth, and that presents challenges. In addition, as we've shared with council prior, there was a tax remittance issue where there were sales tax revenues that were being collected in county unincorporated areas that were being remitted to the city. And this was not done as a city error. These are the businesses themselves, or in some instances, individuals making purchases who selected which tax measure to remit their taxes for. The city's tax measure is called Public Safety Vital Services Tax, and the county's tax measure was called the Vital Services Tax. And so some were remitting taxes to the city that were not city revenues. And this was brought to our attention this year. It's an interesting circumstance that we have hired sales tax consultants to make sure that we're not losing sales tax leakage and that we're capturing as much revenues as possible. But unfortunately, they identified that there were these sales tax revenues that should be going to the county instead of the city. In this current fiscal year, that's an amount of $6.5 million that we projected as revenue that is not in fact revenue. And so we're recommending some adjustments that you'll see tonight because our baseline for that sales tax, it has to be adjusted downward. And we will reflect some of those budget reductions, as well as talk a little bit about other budget reductions that we've pursued in preparation of our budget. We have a new budget officer, and I would like to thank Randy and Robert, our budget officer, for taking a really hard look at our budget numbers. Because we anticipated a tight budget year, Robert took a look at every line item and did a 5-year analysis of our spend. What was our high, what was our low, what was our average, to make sure that we're not over budgeting in some areas. And we identified some areas where our spend was a little bit higher, and we asked departments to help explain and understand why we had overspend. And we had some areas that were underspent, and that allowed us to identify savings by making reductions in those budget line items. In addition, we took a very hard look at some of the newer programs that have been budgeted through PSVS in recent years. I think your council is aware that in the general fund, there have been very little increases in recent years because the general fund had no additional capacity. And so there have been some programs added through PSVS. We took a hard look at those. Where are we seeing important outcomes achieved that are goals of the council, but also look at some areas that we've not seen those same results. And so some of those discretionary programs will be recommending significant reductions in this upcoming budget to help balance the budget. And again, also continued, pretty in-depth analysis of what are our most essential services and what is discretionary. And so our discretionary expenses that we'll be bringing as our recommended budget have been reduced by $10 million. As a mid-year consideration, this is not current year's budget, but last year's budget. We had several projects that we budgeted as contingent, and we've done that several years to be very conservative in our budgeting, that we identified projects that if revenues came in less, that we had pre-identified projects that we wouldn't move forward with as contingent projects. Last year, we saw our revenues start to dip, and so I took executive action to delay 3 projects. Fortunately, our revenues actually didn't dip as far as they could have, but we wanted to stay ahead of issues, and so we had 3 park projects delayed that total $1.6 million, and that is savings. But we have a couple of emergency issues. We have an emergency issue with the filtration system at McMurtry that simply is a repair that needs to happen for McMurtry to open. We also have tennis courts at Centennial Park that have a large crack that render them essentially unable to be used. And one option for your council to consider, in addition, is with your priority of moving towards developing our undeveloped parks. We have not been able to identify the design funding for all 9 of those parks. This would be an opportunity to use one-time savings to start that design process for one of our undeveloped parks so that we can start pursuing grants and other funding opportunities. but would recommend that the remaining $700,000 be recaptured as savings. For our budget adjustments, these are the items that make up a $8.5 million, the $6.5 million reduction to account for our change in tax revenue. We have one project with 5899 in partnership with Caltrans that is not going to move forward this year, so we can delay it. But that is under the understanding that we need to reprogram it for next year because we have a match that the Caltrans and the city are agreeing to. We have a couple of other just facility projects. We looked at all of our projects and said, what can wait? I typically do not recommend waiting on certain deferred maintenance because it only makes things worse. But in the instance of this one roof, we knew that we could wait a few more months. The courtyard definitely was able to wait. We have a study that can also wait. And then we noted some savings in a former streetlight study that hadn't fully been deployed at $500,000 that we no longer need for that study and can recapture that. Small reduction to our grant match fund. We also took action to look at positions that could also wait. We froze 18 positions through June. We are going to, by the way, this is not in our details of the budget yet, but we're continuing to look potentially at other positions that these same positions or other positions that we may continue to hold beyond these initial 6 months as just part of the budgeting process. But this is what we recommended to at least achieve enough savings to have our balanced budget this year. And then we also identified operating budget savings in the Economic and Community Development Department that we've had some carryovers from prior years that have allowed us to continue to work on the priorities of economic development, but can make significant operating budget reductions in this year again to balance that budget. So these are all items that I am recommending that we do not fund this year so that we can balance that $6.5 million reduction in sales tax remittance. I'm going to actually pause here and see if there's questions. Mr. McKeegan's going to walk through our revenue assumptions. And again, you'll see that our revenues are in, they continue to be in a place that allows us to maintain our programs and services, but challenged with the baseline reset. So I'll pause and see if there's any council questions.
Thank you, City Manager Clegg. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments before we go to council?
Mayor Go, we have not received any speaker cards.
Thank you. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Appreciate the presentation and the comments, Mr. Clegg. Thank you so much. I want to look at the slide related to the fiscal year 24-25 budget adjustments. Certainly, as we know, as we look towards this upcoming fiscal year 25-26, we're in some pretty tougher times ahead. So I want to ask about the 18 positions that are frozen for 6 months. Can you, I'm not asking for you to go into detail at each position, but can you give the council a sense of what positions these actually are?
Thank you, Council Member. So Mayor and Council, these positions, first off, were vacant positions. We didn't freeze positions that had incumbents. We typically start with vacant positions. We also looked at positions that we would deem as delivering a core essential service. So we have not, frozen firefighters, police officer positions as an example. Those are not frozen.
So to be clear, we have some vacant police officer positions and we're not freezing those positions.
Correct.
Okay.
But there were positions where, and we actually, debriefed with each department and said, what are the positions that are gonna, that you really need to deliver on the highest priority, services and initiatives, and triage some of those positions that, while I will argue each of these as we've communicated with the departments, we're seeing some service level impacts and some stretching of staff, but that we could accommodate by, reorganizing work assignments and, reorganizing some of our shifts and just, stretching the team to work harder. It has, caused some strain, but these were positions that had the least impact on services. But some of them are direct operations, some of them are internal. I think it's more than 50% are street level operational positions, and some of them are supervisory positions, and some are also internal, support positions. But it's across the board.
Okay, and when you identify a reduction in grant match, can you describe to us what the impact might be there?
Yeah, thank you. So, and what we're proposing is about $500,000. We had identified several different buckets for grant match. We had grant match for capital projects. We had some for traffic safety. We had some for multimodal. And we've been relying on each three of those buckets to help us use as match to go pursue state and federal grants. And we still have more than $2 million in the grant match fund, and so that still allows us to have some of that match available. We've used grant match in a couple of instances to be the gap funding, where we got close to the full funding of the project, but we used a little bit more of the grant match to make up that last $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. So what it could do is it might mean that we have a little bit less to finish out some of our capital projects, but I think we have sufficient match to be able to continue to pursue grants. And ultimately, I think we're going to be looking at our entire capital improvement program of any unfinished projects and really determine, do we need that project to move forward, or do we reappropriate some of the funding of that uninitiated project for some of the bigger priorities that we see coming up in this upcoming budget cycle for council.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Yes, I was just wondering about the roof repair. That's, we talk about deferred maintenance, and that's an item that, if you really have a roof problem, it needs to be fixed. So what's the situation there?
Yeah, and if Mr. Meyer wants to weigh in a little bit more on that one, we just had a conversation about, could it wait at this point another 4 or 5 months, reprogram it into the next CIP, and that was our determination. But Mr. Meyer, you want to add anything?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Smith, that's accurate. It's something that we felt we could wait. It's not going to create anything dire, and that we'll reprogram it next fiscal year and make it a priority.
So we do have a leak. It's just not going to rain the next 4 months?
Again, we can do some stopgap measures that could buy us some time until we do the proper repair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other council member requests? City Manager, continuing? Oh, Councilmember Bashir Tosh.
Yeah, I would just like to say I don't think that's enough. That's all I have to say. I think we need to find more.
City Manager, if you want to continue in the presentation.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. McKeegan.
Good evening again. Randy McKeegan, Finance Director for the city. So as Christian was discussing, we've kind of got us through this upcoming fiscal year, made some cuts. So now I'm going to look at where we are for 2026, and specifically looking at our general fund and looking at the estimates we have to get us through the upcoming fiscal year. So we're going to look at all of the major general fund revenues and then kind of look at the trends of what we're seeing. So this first table basically shows us where we currently estimate we will be for this upcoming fiscal year. Estimated budget of an estimate basically for $427 million. The first column of numbers is the actual revenue we received in 2024. The next column of actual dollar amounts is what we estimate we will actually receive in this fiscal year, $406 million. For some perspective, the actual budget for this 24-25 was $412 million. So we have this $6 million reduction specifically related to the revenue that Christian discussed related to the PSVS overage that was needed to be returned, in essence, to the county. We're going to talk about those top three, those major revenue streams, separately, but I did want to point out a couple things, specifically the increase in miscellaneous or transfers in. That number relates specifically to more money being required to cover the general fund from PSVS and the transient occupancy tax. So last year, the transient occupancy tax fund provided $1 million for general fund operations. This year, it's going up to $4 million, so that's a $3 million increase. In addition to that, the PSVS fund is covering general fund operations an additional $3 million, going from 8.9 to 11.9. So that's why you see that increase from $13 million to $20 million. In addition to that, that beginning balances number, it's a $7 million increase from prior year. $5 million, sorry. That money is really what we looked at savings from 23-24, and we didn't carry over revenue or projects in addition, in essence, to really provide additional revenue for this upcoming fiscal year. So that savings, that beginning balance is really just fund balance, additional savings from budgeted projects that didn't occur in that year. So we rolled that forward into the upcoming fiscal year to get us to that $427 million. The next slide provides a graphical representation of that table, showing, again, property tax is over a quarter, that orange a piece of the pie, and then we have sales tax numbers, the blue and the lighter blue and the red. About half of our revenue for the general fund comes from sales tax, both the Bradley Burns and the PSVS revenue. So we're going to talk specifically now about the revenues for property tax. Again, that major revenue stream continues to go up. So what you see here is a 15-year trend of our property tax revenue. The blue bars are the revenue, actual revenue we received. The orange is the revised estimate for this fiscal year, and the green is what we project to receive in the upcoming fiscal year. That purple bar, the line, is the increases or decreases over the years related to the bars that you see there. So what you see is we have basically $121 million projected. That projection is based on a review of the assessed valuations from the county assessor's office, and that we see for about a 5% increase in assessed valuations. So we are projecting that increase to $120 million from $115 from the prior year. This next slide is the Bradley Burns, the standard regular sales tax measure, and this is a 10-year trend. So again, the blue bar is our actual revenues that we receive every year. The green line is the increase or decrease. Orange is a revised estimate, and the green is what we anticipate. So we are not, as we move forward in this upcoming fiscal year, the original budget was 96.7 last year. So we are not expecting, we are not budgeting, I should say, an increase in this revenue stream because of the uncertainty in the economic situation that we're continuing to see out there. We are basically keeping it flat from the prior year. Really, to provide some context to that, Christian talked about HDL, our sales tax consultant. They actually projected an increase in our revenue for next year. We determined that we didn't want to, we viewed that as a little bit too aggressive. So we wanted to keep it flat. We'll look at the trends. We'll look at the returns each quarter. If it comes into what HDL provided, then we would do a mid-year adjustment. But right now we want to keep it flat because we know that there are a lot of uncertainties out there in the economy. This next slide is the PSVS. Again, blue lines or blue bars are the actual revenues, and then the orange is the revised estimate. We already talked about this a little bit, but the original budget for last year, that orange number, it was $101 million. So we had to adjust that down in really $8 million, a $6.5 million reduction related to repayments, and a $2 million reduction just in estimates. In the HDL estimates were too high, resulting in an overestimate for the last fiscal year. So we made adjustments of $8 million. That table, that slide that we showed of 24-25 was actually $8 million in adjustments to get us down to that $93 million to cover it. So we'd be covered and balanced. Again, this resets our baseline to $97 million. So we are instead of 101, we are reset to a $97 million baseline for PSVS, and we again are not estimating an increase. We are keeping it flat. It shows that 4% increase, but that's related to the reduced amount. If you look at the actual baseline, it's going to be $97 million, and we're going to keep it flat again because we want to make sure that those numbers come in. HDL gave us some numbers that were, again, higher, about $99 million, I believe. We kept it at $97 million, again, to be conservative. This next slide provides a review of the industries. What we see here is from 2020, which is the COVID years, we saw some pretty steep ramping up of the industry, specifically in autos, general and consumer goods, those types of things. That green was the subsequent year. So we continued to see, we saw significant increases right after COVID, but as you look at those trends, there are some that continue to drop down, specifically autos, building and construction, food and drugs, all of them have this trend, except for restaurants and hotels. People continue to eat out in Bakersfield. And that county pool. That county pool is really where the online sales are collected for the city. So online sales go through what's called the county pool, and we continue to see people buy things through online service providers. So this is the trend that we're seeing, and because of those trends, we see some going up, we see some going down, and some remaining flat. That is one of the reasons we continue to look to basically remain flat in this upcoming fiscal year. This next slide provides that same data specifically related to the PSVS. And what you're going to see there is those significant drops in autos, business and industry, somewhat more in general consumer goods. That dip is related to the repayments that we had to make for the overpayments from the county. So what you see in that dark blue bar is really in part related to the significant repayments of $6.5 million that we had to return in essence to the county. So again, we kept it flat. If you reset those baselines, they're about flat. Again, we continue to see a little bit of decrease in auto sales. We continue to see a little bit of decrease in food and drugs, food and drugs, and in fuel and the like. So again, we wanted to be conservative. There was an estimate of somewhat of a slight increase, but we kept these revenues flat for the upcoming fiscal year. And this next slide is related to our transient occupancy tax. As I spoke to earlier, transient occupancy tax is a separate fund, but it funds a lot of our CIPs, but it also, again, is funding some of the general fund operations. Again, we moved it up to $4 million this year. But that revenue continues to have, since COVID, a pretty steady increase over the last couple of years. The amount of actual budgeted last year was $11.5 million. So we actually are going to have $1 million more in revenue in that revenue stream for this year. And we are projecting a slight increase to that revenue in the upcoming year as well. Again, that has one of the reasons we're allowed to have the revenue to cover part of the general fund is we continue to see transient occupancy taxes continue to rise. Again, if you don't know what transient occupancy tax, it's a 12% tax on hotel stays throughout the city. So that we continue to have individuals stay, lots of activity, lots of events still occurring within the city, and it's still drawing in individuals to stay at our hotels. So with that is my review of revenue. I'm available for questions if you do have any.
Thank you, Mr. McKeegan. Mr. Clegg, anything further?
Thank you, Mayor. No.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Any requests from the public to speak on this portion?
We have not received any speaker cards for this item.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question on you had the baseline where the 6 million. Can you go back to that slide?
You're talking about the PSVS revenue?
Yes.
There we go.
So you'd estimated 101 and it went down to 93.
That's an $8 million reduction, yeah.
But then you said the baseline is 97 and you're going flat. Wouldn't the baseline be the 93?
No, the baseline is if you, the $6 million that we repaid is, if you add that back to that number, it's about $100 million.
Right.
But
We're not going to get that next year either, right?
No, we've already taken it out. They're
Right.
taking it from us. So,
Right.
so the baseline is you add that $6 million to the revenue to get to a new baseline. It's actually $4 million, I'm sorry. So the overpayments, it went over multiple years. So $6 million of overpayments, $4 million of them were in the current year. So that's the new baseline of $97 million. If that doesn't
So the
ring true to you.
overpayments weren't just 1 year.
Yeah, they were multiple years of overpayments, and so they were collected over this upcoming fiscal year and next fiscal year.
Okay, got it.
So we, in essence, we have to really create a liability.
So $4 million was from previous
Was
years.
from this, $4 million was from 94, 95, and so that's the base. So that
24.
resets the baseline to 97.
24, 25.
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's a long time ago. Yeah, 24, 25. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I got it.
Thank you. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. Randy, I would appreciate it if you could run through, so that it's clear to me and to the public, the transfers in comment that you made earlier.
Sure.
I suppose maybe I didn't realize how much was coming from TOT and PSVS to supplant and support the shortcomings in the general fund.
Sure. So last year we made that determination that the general fund was not going to be able to pay for the full amount of the staffing costs and operating costs. So we moved $1 million and $8.9 million to supplement it. We're continuing that same mode of thinking. The TOT had available funds we needed, so we have $4 million that we're now moving in from the TOT. And we increased the supplement from PSVS dollars by $3 million. Again, that's to balance the budget for the general fund.
To just give a little more information to the numbers, when you mentioned the 8.9, that was from last year from PSVS to general fund was 8.9. The year prior was 8, and TOT last year was a little more than $1 million. And in this coming year, and you haven't seen this yet, but this is part of our revenues previews, that to balance the general fund, we're looking at the $4 million from TOT and $11.9 million from PSVS.
Got it. And so we intend to do that in this upcoming budget. We've done it last year. Did we do it the year prior or?
Not TOT.
Just for PSVS, but
Just
not for
PSVS.
TOT. And to your point, I would clarify, this is the city manager's recommended budget to council going into workshops, but it has not been decided by council to do that.
Got it. That's helpful for me to know. I think that, going back to Councilmember Bashir Tosh's comments, I think that it's important for us to really take a hard look at some of the overages in the general fund. It's hardly ever, almost never, the right thing to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. I think that there's certainly more opportunities for us to take a hard look. It sounds like, Randy, you've got some help to look at each line item, maybe a little more in depth, but looking forward to our conversations headed into the budget to figure out how we can better balance it today so that, year over year, we're not continuing to see additional transfers from funds supplanting the general fund.
Thank you. Councilmember Bashir Tosh.
I promise at my house, I am the good one that the kids come to. I'm not but for some reason, I just feel the need to just speak about the fact that I don't understand why PSVS is being used to cover budget shortfalls with the general fund. If it's being used to cover and our general fund isn't enough, then we need to cut back. It's not our piggy bank. It literally is public safety and vital measure. And we've grown our friend circle huge when it comes to employees, but we have a lot of issues that are not being taken care of. And I think that this is a mild scrape of what needs to be done. We really need to get serious about this. And it kills the public's perception of us every time they see PSVS being used for something other than PSVS, which is I want to feel safer, I want to transact in a safe way, I want to live in this community, I want to thrive in this community. And every time a dollar goes away from that, feeling that public safety and vital measure to the weight of $100 million, it kills the perception. We have people show up frustrated. I'm here, frustrated. I ran for council because I was frustrated, not because I enjoy this whole thing. It's not fun, but it's necessary, and it has to be done. It doesn't need to be a conversation. It has to be done before we have zero trust or belief in what we do, and before deferred maintenance just continues to grow. I mean, it means that we have to get tough and we have to work harder, and we just got to get through this the right way. I listened to the PSVS meeting, and I think that Mr. Clayton made a great point of we are growing into our belt instead of tightening our belt. I feel that that was a very valid comment, and I think that we need to just be a lot more aggressive in looking at this. That's my comment.
Thank you. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah, a couple comments. First of all, thank you so much for the projections, and I appreciate the more conservative approach when we look at fiscal year 25-26. It's better to be surprised in a much more positive way with the surplus at the end of that fiscal year than to be having to make mid-year cuts, which are very uncomfortable, and that's where really difficult decisions are going to have to be made. We don't have a choice. I do think there's a couple of things I'd like to point out, and that is, as we review the mid-year budget and as we are going to begin the exercise of this next fiscal year, it is sort of a one-year review. What I would like to see is the city really perform some better analysis on multi-year projections, both on revenue trends. I love this industry indicator here of what industries are performing and how well, and what are the trends over the last few years. But I like us to perform some analysis along with some experts to see what are the trends in the future. And then also, we're not just passive recipients of the sales tax revenue. There are cities who are go-getters, and they're doing things to generate economic activity within their local region. And why not us? What are we doing? What is the strategy for us to enhance the economic activities that in turn can generate more sales tax revenue? I refuse to just sit idly by and just accept the reality and just lament up here all day long about how sales tax numbers are going down. Let's figure out strategies so that we can be aggressive and generate new revenue. And to me, that's what it means to think about the city as a business. And that goes to transit occupancy tax as well. How can we increase TOT? TOT is actually paid for by people who visit our community, primarily, not people who live within our community. And yet the people within our community, our citizens, are the ones who enjoy that benefit. To the tune of next year, $13 million. How do we generate more TOT? What is the strategy? How can we develop plans so that specific action plans, not pie in the sky, studies that take forever. I mean specific, concrete action plans that we can start generating additional TOT this next year. One idea might be to finally regulate Airbnbs. There's $500,000 in TOT that is lost currently every year because we refuse to regulate those Airbnbs. They exist. We're not collecting TOT. So I think it's time for us to kind of get real in terms of the revenue side and figure out how we can be more aggressive. And then also, when it comes to capital costs, our city continues to grow, and we know that there are infrastructure needs. We talked about sewer for the last month. And that's just one capital expense. When we build out this infrastructure, they become real obligations for the city, real liabilities for the city. Eventually, we will have to replace those capital costs. There too, we have no choice. We have to replace them. And so we have to have a better plan of action as to how we're going to address those capital needs in the future. So I really feel like, the 1 year outlook is good. Obviously, it's necessary that we have to go through this budget exercise, but we have to do it in the context of a multi-year projection, both on the revenue side and then also on the expense side, and have some real clear, specific, nuanced analysis on specific items that we can enhance on that revenue side. I'm looking at key industries, for example, restaurant and hotels continues to trend upward. How can we help induce additional revenue in restaurants and hotels? I imagine there's people all over the region coming into Bakersfield. I know they're coming into downtown because you can't get a botanist anywhere else in the state. You come to downtown Bakersfield for that. And so how do we induce some of that as a city, get behind our business community who are trying to make things happen that in turn will help benefit the city overall in the future? Thank you.
Appreciate that. Just to that point, Councilmember Gonzalez, my budget officer is raring to look at some long-term projections. So we really are planning to really get into the weeds, so to speak, on that, to really look at the long-term revenue and expenditure growth so we can actually have some really good numbers to look forward to.
I don't see any other requests to speak. We have to live within our means. We have to provide the essential services and infrastructure, and that will mean tightening our belts. Next item, please. Oh,
May I
sorry,
go with
motion
the motion to receive and file.
Motion, please cast your votes.
Motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Council and mayor statements.
I don't see any requests to speak, and so we are adjourned at 7. But this meeting. Aren't we going back for the 3? Oh. Right, we're going back for the 3:30 closed session. We're going to come back and do the general plan as part of the 3:30 meeting. So we're going into the next meeting per the city attorney.